guys, it's Horsey Stuff, and today I am back with part 3 of Heartland Season 1, Episode 1. I hope you guys have been enjoying this little series as much as I have, and I am so excited to continue on with more of the first episode of Heartland. I just can't wait to keep going and get to episode 2 and see what other craziness happens in this show, because the realism is completely lacking. If you could go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe for more videos, that would be so helpful. And let's go ahead and jump right in. Again, this horse is upset because somebody dared to walk into the barn. Although he hasn't retreated as much this time, so that is progress. Alright, now he's a little more upset, pawing. He looked a little too kind earlier, I guess. They had to make that more dramatic. I guess that she's gonna fix this horse by round pinning him, probably using the Monty Roberts join-up technique. I know that this is a very popular technique, especially for troubled horses, and he's patented it or whatever. I mean, it's like his thing, and he teaches it, and people pay lots of money to basically learn how to do it. In short, the join-up method is that you run a horse around until they learn that they want to come up to you instead of being chased, and they therefore join up, and then they'll do cool things like follow you around. Basically, the idea behind the join-up method is that you're running the horse around until they submit and decide they want to be your partner, and la-di-da, and everything is great after that. If you really look into the psychology of it, you are chasing a horse that is scared for its life and forcing it to bend to your will until it's so scared it faces you in defeat, realizing that it can't outrun you because you're going to continue to chase it. And once it is defeated and it turns to you, you release. It learns the only escape from pressure is to come to you, and therefore it sticks to you like glue because it's terrified of what happens when it leaves you. So it does work. The horse does follow people at the end because it's terrified of all the other options. However, it does not actually teach the horse to be relaxed and confident. It just teaches the horse that the alternative is worse. And people use it to teach the horse respect, teach the horse to partner with you, blah, 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 blah. It all boils down to getting the horse more scared of not doing what you ask than doing what you ask, and teaching the horse that coming to you is the safest option.
Keep driving until he does.
And driving a horse around until they figure out who's boss, as the grandfather said, is not a solution to a scared problem horse. We're not dealing with a horse that's aggressive and attacking people. We're dealing with a horse that's terrified. Terrified of people. If he's terrified, why are you needing to show him who's boss? Because he's scared. Show him that you're kind and compassionate. That's gonna teach him that he should appreciate you, and hopefully he'll become less scared of you. But you can't make a horse less scared of you by showing him who's boss and treating him like he's disrespectful. That's craziness! So here she is chasing the horse around over and over again. Again, she's not fixing the horse. He's clearly panicking. He's clearly terrified. This horse is clearly petrified. You can tell he's petrified by his frantic whinnies, the fact that he's spinning around like his life depends on it. He's racing around with his head straight up, his back dropped down, short, quick steps, all signs of extreme tension. That little rearing he's doing is probably because he's just panicking. It's not working for him. He has no solution. And I think what bothers me absolutely the most about Heartland is this is actually a thing in the horse world. They haven't just picked some obscure random way to torture a horse, which is absolutely what this is. This is a bona fide method that people actually think is natural horsemanship and is more humane than other techniques, which just tells you how bad the horse world can be. So perhaps my biggest problem with Heartland is it is based in real techniques that are very, very traumatic for the horse. also the tail being up like that a sign of lameness or distress. So we're gonna yell at the horse, like yelling at it. It's gonna tell it that you're helping it. And there you could see the white in his eyes when he turned and looked at her, yet somehow her yelling, "It's not my fault," got him to slow down. Totally unrealistic. Totally unrealistic. Horses are not going to react better just because you're yelling at them. They can't understand your words. All they're going to hear is the anger and frustration in your voice, and they're going to react to that by running harder. In her little flashback there, the mom gave the horse a treat for joining up or coming over to her, so further telling the horse the safe place is with you, and then anytime it leaves you, you're going to torture it until it comes back. So the food just re-cements in it that it should stay with you because you're the safe place. The horse still looks utterly petrified. To me, this doesn't seem like magic at all, that she turned her back and now the horse is looking and chewing. He's trying to cope with everything that he has learned through this process. He's still very tense. His eyes still look really small and worried. Everything in his posture says he's worried, but he knows that there's nothing else he can do. So to me, that looked like defeat. And when he comes up to her and she doesn't beat him, he licks and chews because he's like, "Oh, I figured something out." Right? I mean, as much as join up is a horrific way of teaching a horse something, it does teach them that the safest place is to be with you. And so when you run them around until they're terrified and then they come to you, they do learn they need to come to you sooner. Because coming to you is what gets them away from being chased. There's no way a horse would become that affectionate after join up if it was that scared. If the horse were truly terrified, it would join up with you, aka come to you. It might take a treat out of your hand, it might not, depending on its state of mind. It wouldn't magically become affectionate just because you've broken its will and terrified it until it came in utter defeat. That's not going to turn a horse into a cuddly kind horse. It's going to turn it into a very shut down horse that just is avoiding pressure by being with you. And so that's the part that's extremely unrealistic. Alright, so all of a sudden, because she joined up, now she can groom this horse and he's relaxed and happy and wearing a halter and she barely needs to hold him. Oh, and they can blanket him too. I mean, that's just magic, right? And now she can put her head on him and kiss him like that's crazy. It's not accurate. Alright, so now she can go in the stall and he nickers to her. Magical. I don't think that's truly possible, especially with a horse that you have joined up with and shut down instead of actually made relaxed. But the sentiment is really sweet and it's really cool that the horse is now better. Just the whole join up method isn't going to create that, and no way it's going to happen that fast. You would have to repeatedly do that over and over again until the horse is so shut down that it ceases to really react to things. And that's what we call a well-broke, well-trained horse, is one that's so shut down it doesn't show any feeling anymore. This horse seems pretty affectionate and kind, therefore it can't be properly shut down. So how did it make that transformation from terrified to okay? It certainly wasn't through the join-up method. Alright, so she just tied the horse to the corral fence. If your corral's built for that, totally fine to do that. I would never tie to a corral fence. But I've never had a corral that has a solid wood cemented post fence that I could tie to, so it's certainly something you could do. I'm sure there are people that do it. And then she's just saddling this horse like he's been saddled every day of his life. It's very plausible that the horse's problems never had to do with being saddled, and that the abuse was more recent and had more to do with being handled than being ridden. So this horse could have been ridden at some point and been totally fine with it. But certainly, if I were dealing with a problem horse that had been terrified of me, I would want to be holding the horse when I saddle it in case it did panic. Because right now, if it panics, it's going to pull back on this hopefully solid cemented in post and potentially hurt itself. and completely panic and just create even more problems for you to fix. I would rather be holding the horse, slowly put the pad on, see how it feels, maybe bring up the saddle, see how it feels. Basically act like this horse had no training. And that's generally my tactic with problem horses, is to act like the horse has absolutely no training and take each step very slowly. That way I can see what causes the horse to worry and address that and then move on. And if you do that, you can basically get through the whole process without bringing up any of the real issues because you've stayed on their threshold. Anything the horse had skipped in its previous education, you're patching up and teaching it, so that by the time you move forward, the horse is actually prepared and ready for the job. In this method, she has the horse tied and she's saddling it, and so she's basically assuming that the horse has already been saddle broke and is okay with being saddled, which is a big assumption to make for a horse that was terrified of somebody walking in a barn just a tiny bit ago. And she's swinging up and riding. I mean, if the horse saddled that well, I'm not surprised. It was cool with her getting on. But as soon as she gets on, she starts pulling on its mouth and making him a little nervous, and he starts backing up. So that seems more rider error than horse error. He was doing nothing, she swung up, and it was when she started grabbing his face that he started to get a little choked up and backing up. Also, why do horses in movies and television make so much noise? My horses are so freaking quiet compared to this. Even if I got on and choked up the rein, my horses would not be making a noise unless I'm pulling on their face so hard they're having an actual panic attack. We have lots of pets. Pets are always good. They make everything better. Oh, and she's gonna take him right out on the trail. Okay, again, I think that's slightly ill-advised. This horse, she has no idea what his training is, what his background is. She doesn't know how he's gonna behave, where he might have run into problems and gotten scared in the past. So I would want to ride him in a controlled setting to at least have some idea that he's not gonna panic and lose his mind and try to kill me while I'm out riding through the ranch. I think that was a very unrealistic representation of what somebody would do when they're trying to fix a horse. I think the first time they get on, me and everyone else would want to get on in an enclosed environment where we know that we're in a controlled area. We can have some measure of safety in the case the horse blows up at any given time. Again, you're not dealing with a horse where you know all the issues. You're dealing with a horse where you're uncovering the issues as you go, and going out on the ranch on hundreds of acres could be an extremely dangerous situation. You don't want to be out there when you find out that you can't stop the horse, or once the horse goes faster than a walk, it loses its mind and bucks you off. Now you're in the middle of nowhere, hurt, can't get help, etc. It's just all a terrible idea. And yet clearly the one she's chosen. Now I suspect this will work out for her because it seems like the horse was only afraid of people, and once it realized that she wasn't going to hurt him, he was okay being saddled, he was okay with her getting on. If she rides decently well, it seems likely that he'll be fine with her riding, probably be fine going around the ranch. So it'll probably work out, but if it were a true problem horse, you would never do this because you just don't know what the triggers are. You don't know what caused the problems. Again, it's very possible that the horse was abused after it had been a successful riding horse, so it's just falling back on its old training now, and it's totally cool. You don't know, so why risk it?
Ain't it wonderful?
Alright, so now she is cantering around this ranch, very beautiful place, and this horse seems perfectly well behaved, so again, glad it worked out, not particularly surprised based on how everything else had gone. I wish she wouldn't ride so tight. I remember earlier in this episode, she was riding I want to say it was a buckskin. Don't bash me down in the comments. I just literally don't remember. It was some sort of yellow colored horse. Oh my god, I sound like somebody who doesn't know horses at all. Oh my god. It was either a buckskin or a palomino, I believe. Anyway, when she was riding earlier in this episode with her friend, she had a nice loose rein. She was walking along, the horse had lots of space and was just going along in a curb bit how you should ride in a curb bit. I mean, I believe it was a curb bit, mostly based on that loop in the rein. So now she's riding this horse super tight and hanging on him, and his head is straight up in the air, and he looks really upset about it. So, good horse for dealing with it, but I just wish you would give the horse some space to let his head out. There's no need to hold on to him like that. And I know this actor has learned to ride for this role, and she is a pretty decent rider. So again, no need to be hanging on his face. Alright, so I guess she rode up to the cemetery to see her mom's gravestone, and now she's riding back. I'm curious what she did with this horse while she was at the cemetery, since she definitely wasn't holding the horse. Maybe there's a place to tie the horse. I guess when we saw the funeral, somebody else rode up and tied their horse, so she probably did that. Just didn't really explain it. So let's begin putting a lot of trust in a horse that you've never ridden before and never done anything with before, so seems a little crazy. Again, you see how short she's riding this horse with a curb. Let me clarify, the curb is that shank that goes from the horse's mouth. There's a piece going down and then the rein attaches below. That's called a shank, if you didn't know that. And why I'm so obsessed with this being a curb bit, aka bit with a shank that has leverage, is that when you ride with a leverage bit, you should ride based on the weight of the rein, not contact. So I ride English primarily in snaffles, and snaffles are ridden with contact, so the rein always has some amount of tension. I mean, you don't want to be hanging, but it's through feel. It's like holding somebody's hand, so you do feel that pressure of the hold in a snaffle, versus a leverage bit, like a curb bit like she is riding with, should be based on the weight of the rein. So it's not like holding hands, it's like holding two ends of a rope, and you can feel one person move one end through the weight of the rope into the other one. You can feel that slack changing. So curb bit should always be ridden with a loop in the rein of some sort, because the horse should be reacting to that loop lengthening or shortening to tell it how much rein it has, or whether you picked up or released that rein. She is riding with a contact on a curb bit, which is something that should never, ever, ever happen, because it is literally not how you're supposed to ride in that bit. Now again, this is a much bigger problem than this show, as it's a very common way of riding in curb bits. It's just not how you should do it, and it's both inhumane and not correct. Curb bits were designed to ride with a slack so that Western riders, mostly working ranchers, could ride really lightly and just kind of have their hands resting, pick up when they needed to, be very accurate without making big gestures, and they could do it all one-handed as well. Riding with a leverage bit means the force you are applying is more severe to the horse than it is in your own arm muscle. We already use way too much arm strength to ride a horse than we need to. So again, all very bad thing, and happens all over the horse world. It's a very widespread issue that they are just highlighting in the show unknowingly, and I wish they really wouldn't. Especially for somebody who's supposed to be a rescuer of horses and lover of horses and rehab all these broken problem horses. I really wish they would showcase better horsemanship than the same terrible ways we see time and time again in the horse world. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed that reaction to the third part of episode 1 of Heartland. I really am enjoying this show way more than I thought I would. It's becoming something I really look forward to every week, because it's so cringy. It's so cringy, and maybe that's why people like it so much in the first place. I don't know. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed that, and leave a comment down below and let me know what you thought, and if you have any recommendations for future videos. And I will see you guys all tomorrow. Bye!